Welcome back. So in this final video, I will show you how to render out your kind of presentation shot. So here you can see I finished texturing this model how I wanted. I got my emissive maps put in, my logos. So now I'm to the point where I'm like, I'm ready to wrap this project up and present it. So right in Substance Painter, there is a little camera in the right hand corner called iRay, and this is your rendering settings. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna click on this, and then it'll change from your texturing, your kind of painting and texturing viewports, then to your render viewport. So I'm going to go ahead and select render with iRay, and I messed with this prior to this video, so I kind of have a little bit of an idea of what I want, but I will just go ahead and show you kind of the first few things. So here we have our texture set list, and this is our materials that will be using when it comes to the game engine. We have our render settings, and so we have a few different things. We have our status, our resolution, and scene iteration. So you can see here is 13. So basically 13 passes out of 1,000, and then our render time 8 seconds out of a max of 10. So you can iRay will automatically pause after it's either hit its max samples, which is 1,000. So as you can see here, iteration is 1,000. Or if it's max time, whichever comes first. And so here it says max time 10 seconds. So we have seconds, minutes, hours. If I were to change to minutes, you'll actually see it'll start working here. So 15, 18, 21. It's going to be counting up. And so whichever comes first, whether it be the 1,000 out of 1,000 or 10 minutes out of 10 minutes, that's when it'll pause rendering. You can pause it right here if you want, or you can resume it. So that's kind of how when you're actually rendering what you're going to be doing. Now something to note is every time you rotate this view, it will start the process over again. So let's say if I rotate that, you'll see it's back down to 20 and back to 2 seconds. So that's one thing to make note. That's why a lot of times what I'll do is I'll keep this really low to 10 seconds, and I will just kind of, so that way it's not wasting resources trying to render out this high version, or this high quality version. I'm just getting an idea of how I want to position it, and then once I say yes, this is exactly how I want it, that's when I'll do the longer render. So here, once, let's say for example, this is exactly the render I want. I've done all my adjustments to it, and I like exactly how this looks. You then can go to your viewports, and you can save render. So it's a simple save, and then you can title whatever you want, save where you want, as if it's just a file, and or you can share it straight to your ArtStation from within here, and that's a really quick, efficient way to do that. So something else you'll see is you have your you can override your resolution. So let's say if I want this to be a different resolution, I can just type in here, maybe I want it to be 1,000 by 1,000. Oops. Okay. Or let's even say if I want it to be 1,200 by 1,200. And then it will do is it'll render out this squared versus that larger, or that 19 by, I don't know if it's 1080, I can't recall, but so yeah, you can adjust the shape of your render as well. So here in our display settings, we have a number of different tabs. We have our environment, our camera settings, our viewport settings. So for environment, what you'll see, let me see what to. So by default, you'll get this grass environment. Let's see, where is it? There it is. Okay. So by default, you get this grass environment here. It's just this outside environment. You can. So what you're doing though is you're selecting the kind of lighting map for this. So what you'll notice is, see how the lighting looks here. Now compare that to this kind of warmer desert scene where the lighting's gonna look a little bit different. And so you know what you can do is you can consider what you will be, what's kind of this story. So for example, right now this is kind of a outer space vending machine. So maybe I might want to choose something that's, you know, in this case over the clouds. Saying it's a little more outer space for my lighting. I mean, there are a lot of different environment maps. You can also download some. A really good one I like to use is Studio 5. I like Studio 3 quite a bit. I feel like this just has a real nice professional look to it. Okay. And so something else I like to note is if you hold Shift and then right click and drag, you can rotate your environment like this, or you can just go right here and rotate it. Let's say if your environment's too dark, you can adjust the brightness just a little brighter. Or if, in this case, it's too bright, you can drop the brightness. So that's right there in the environment exposure. Okay, and there's something else is we have our clear coat. So what it's going to do is, let's say if I want that lighting that I had picked as my environment map. I want to keep that lighting, but I don't want to show up the desert or the grass. So I can just put a clear coat. By checking that, then I can select a color. So I'll still get the same lighting as the environment map. I'll just have a clear or a solid color in place of the actual image that you would see with that map. Okay, so you can turn on your ground and turn off the ground. So if you turn off the ground, you'll have no shadow, or if you turn on the ground, you will have shadow. You can adjust. So for example, if I were to adjust this up just a little bit, you'll see my ground actually will cut into my model like that. So I did some tweaking, and I now know that negative 40.5 it will be flush to the bottom of my model, so that's why I'm going to leave that there. You have your reflectiveness, so if you want to be extra shiny ground, you can make it white, and that'll make it reflect off the ground. You can increase the glossiness, so it's almost like a mirror. You can adjust your shadows. Okay. So I'm just kind of real quickly showing you the basics here. You have your post effects. You can do each one of these. I recommend just exploring them, messing them. A lot of times I like to just mess with this. It gives me kind of that professional look. Kind of the focus in on what I'm working on, kind of a thing. Something like that, perhaps. Okay. A glare might be really good if you have a lot of reflective materials, things that you want to just kind of really shine off like a really, really bright shine. And yeah, so I mean, I say just recommend just try out those. They're all. I'm not gonna go into each one, but they each can be pretty effective when trying to find trying to really present your final piece a little nicer. And we kind of already went over the intensity. That's kind of the emissive intensity. You have refractions that you can adjust as well. So I'm going to say for the sake of this demonstration, I'm pretty happy with what I have right here. So what I would do next is I would just save my render. And then I would call it whatever I want to call it. So I might call it soda machine render 1. And then and I have that completed. It's in there. So let's say now if I want to maybe do a different angle, maybe I want to get kind of this backwards angle. And then once it's done rendering, once you are happy with the aerations that you have there, then you can just save it again, save render, and now you might want to call it soda machine render 2. And maybe you want to get really like a really nice detailed shot. Maybe you want to change the light up a little bit. Like maybe you want to have that light kind of focus in on, focus on it a little differently on the model, so you can rotate your lights around. Or let's say if you really want to show your emissive maps, saying that you want to show how your stuff glows. Maybe you can just turn off your environment light all the way down to -10, and then capture a render of that. That could be something that you might want to do. So just really once you get everything that you want rendered out, then now you can leave that by just clicking the camera tab, and I'll go back to this, and actually I want to real quickly go adjust my lighting. Let's see. I'm gonna put this back to 0 so it's not so dark. Okay. So then once you have all that completed, your last step is to export out your textures. So go to your export textures, it's under file, export textures, and then you will have a list of different, say you can have, you have to first choose where you want to put this. So in this case I might want to put it under this project that I'm working on right now. I'm just going to make a new folder called textures, and I want to put it in textures. So select that folder. You'll see right there it'll say tutorial soda machine textures. Now you want your output template, and so there are a lot of different ones to use. There are some defaults. So you have your Unity HD render pipeline, you have your Unity your Unity Universal, Unreal 4, PBR, specular glossy. So there's really just a lot of different ones to use. And so I personally I have a one that I use that's a little different. But for the sake of this, we'll just go ahead and use our Unity HD render, or HD metallic. And you can choose how you want to export it out. By default it'll go by whatever the template says. You can choose your size. So earlier we had our texture maps at 2K, and this would be based off your texture set size, so if we had it set to 2K earlier, it'll export out as 2K. And then any padding you want to adjust, but I always have to use the defaults for that as well. And one more thing I just want to point out real quickly is if you're someone who uses Sketchfab, there's a really great plugin here. You can click Sketchfab, and what it'll do is it'll actually it'll give you have to put in your account stuff, your account information, but it'll actually put it right onto your account for you. Really streamlined, similar to the ArtStation. And that's really pretty helpful when you want to just kind of save some time there. Okay, so use the Unity, and then I just want to here's going to be the list of different maps. You go to the list of exports, it's going to give me 4 different maps, and here's what they're going to be titled. I have my base map, my mask map, my normal, my emissive, and then once you are ready to export that out, you just simply hit export, and it will export all those, and it will give you an option to go straight to that folder. Let's see, actually, never mind, the updated substance parent does not have that option now, which is fine. So what you do is you just go to that folder, you look under your textures, and you'll see here we have all of our textures ready to go. So I really do appreciate you taking time to watch this. I hope that you learned something. Hope that you made something really cool. I just thank you for taking time to go through all this with me.